All right, everybody, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Sports Hounds are going live right now.
Let's go! This ain't the fuck like boss is thinking he stinks!
Oh shit!
It's gone!
All right, everybody, another Monday night, another episode of Sports Hounds underway, exclusively on a2dradio.com. Hit that like, turn those notifications on. Don't miss anything here. We're live, as always, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, and Instagram. Stream us, download us. If you miss us, wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. As always, we're brought to you by ARIA Public Adjusting. Do you have property damage or damage to your home? We may be able to help. Don't fight your home insurance alone. Contact ARIA Public Adjusting, 813-564-3364. Tell them the Sports Hound sent you. We're also brought to you by All Campus between 10th and 11th Street on the Ocean City Boardwalk. Host of the Ramp Booth. You can get 20% in that store by becoming an A2D member. Being an A2D member, it's $9.99. You get gambling picks, merchandise giveaways, tons of perks. That's $9.99 a month. You can follow that link in the bio there. We got comments already flying in. We got a big NBA show. We got a big MLB show. And the Colorado Avalanche are Stanley Cup champions. Check out Brad Ryer tomorrow on the Hockey Happy Hour with the boys. I'm sure they'll be talking about that. We'll touch on it a little bit here. But like I said, we have a big NBA show to start off with. Breaking news before we came on the air, before we get into the Sixers, Kyrie Irving will opt into his $37 million player option, thus keeping him in Brooklyn. And one would assume that would keep Kevin Durant in a Brooklyn Nets uniform as well. So, looks
Big
like
deal. Hey, Rob, you know what? I got one thing to say. How many playoff games did the Knicks win last year? The Knicks.
The Knicks, none. They didn't make it.
How many did the Nets win?
They got a couple. They played Boston the first round, or they played Milwaukee.
Right.
Now, Milwaukee played Chicago.
They
Get swept? Did they get swept by Boston?
Yeah.
They did get swept by Boston.
Yes. So I just want Net fans to realize that you won as many playoffs games as we did. So, keep bringing those guys back in, and we'll see what happens.
But I mean, I don't really think it can be argued. Look, Kyrie's a knucklehead. He's crazy. He's temperamental. He's a diva, but he's really good at basketball.
Oh, he's really good at basketball, but he's a kook.
I don't think there's really any arguing that the Nets are going to win a ton of games, at least in the regular season, that they're going to be right there in the East, at least seed-wise, going into the playoffs, with assuming Kyrie Irving plays the lion's share of games and Durant plays the lion's share of games. They're going to be right there. And then that really sets up the whole offseason, which is rapidly approached. We already had the draft. We're going to get into that. Sixers did some stuff. Or didn't.
When's free agency start?
July 1st, I think. I think
That's
it's like
Friday.
the NFL, though. There's like a tampering period, and then guys can sign, and we'll see what happens. But it looks like the Nets are going to stay intact, and that's big when we get into the power rankings of the East. So our poll
But
question.
I just had to mention that they won as many playoff games as the Knicks.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Just had to mention it. I'm sorry. It just popped out.
Look, when you look at these teams that dominate the headlines, dominate the tabloids, are focused on branding and name, image, and likeness, like the Brooklyn Nets dude. The Sixers were all over the headlines last year for not good Rudy Joe injury, the Harden trade, Simmons not playing. They don't win. Cowboys always go in to every NFL season with a bunch of hype, and they, for the most part, they always fall short. I'm sure there's baseball teams like that. There's hockey teams like that. And so If your team's dominating headlines in the summer in the NBA, that doesn't bode well for your championship aspirations the following season. And it definitely doesn't bode well if you're in the tabloids while the season's actually going on, like the Nets seem to be motivated in doing. But our poll question tonight, Sixers related. De'Anthony Melton. The Sixers got better with the addition of De'Anthony Melton. Look, I wholeheartedly agree with this. I get on Daryl Morey a lot. I call him Morey the Moron. That's my nickname for him. But I think he did really well, trading the 23rd pick, getting rid of Danny Green, getting a 24-year-old guard off the Memphis Grizzlies bench. Memphis Grizzlies were forced Game 6 with the Warriors without John Morant for the most part. So, this guy's a big reason why the Memphis Grizzlies had such a good record without their superstar John Morant. He's going to fit in great off the bench. He can do a lot of things for you. So I don't really think how it can be argued that the Sixers didn't get better with the addition of De'Anthony Melton. Did they get good enough? No, I don't think so. There's still holes in this bench. They still need shooting. They still need a backup big. But when you're looking at the guys on the board, the Christian Colocos out of Arizona, the Justin Hardys or whatever his name is out of the G League, like De'Anthony Melton's a proven commodity, and I'm trading the 23rd pick in the draft for a proven bench commodity all day long. So now, as of right now,
at this point, you're a now team. Okay.
Correct.
You don't need to be worrying about developing talent right now. You need to go out and finish the job. Okay. Remember when we talked about, getting last week about the trophy, trying to always get the trophy player. Well, the Sixers should be congratulated about one thing. They stopped trophy hunting, and they began getting some role players in here who can help this team win a championship. Because that's really what they need to do. They've got enough talent, okay, and the starting lineup. They just need to get the right players to come off the bench when needed. That's really what it boils down to. And what they need. They need guys who can guard on the perimeter. We've seen this, and and they need somebody who can give Joe a rest. That's kind of what they need to do. So one by one, they're going to go ahead and do it. And the 23rd pick of the draft is highly unlikely to play that kind of a role.
And you look at, Morey's not done. He's not putting his fingerprints on this offseason. I wholeheartedly believe that. Pretty much every NBA executive seems that this PJ Tucker 3 years for $30 million is going to happen. Now they have to clear out a little more cap space to get it done, from what I understand, but that's going to happen. There's no sense of me coming on and complaining about it, saying it's stupid to give a 38-year-old all that money, 3 years on top of $10 million a year. But Joe wants it. We saw in Brooklyn how top 10 players in the league can dictate roster moves. So, PJ Tucker is going to be on the Sixers. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I hope it works out. He's a great guy. He's a shooter to an extent. He's not a starter, so he's going to come off the bench. So when you inevitably
you need role players. You've got your starters. You've got a starting lineup to die for, okay? You just need to fix the bench. You traded your bench basically for Harden last year, and then you paid for it in the playoffs. So now you know what? Now you go out and you restock the bench, and you know what? Hopefully at this point you're going to have enough bench players to go with that magnificent five that you have, and try to win a championship.
Then we got the comments rolling in. Pete Evans, he agrees to the poll. Amanda Stevenson has a question. She's checking us out on Facebook. Go ahead, fire it in the comments, Amanda. We'd love to attempt to answer your question. Jake Friel, what's up, boys? He's going to agree to the poll, but they still need more help. Matthew Walsh, he's very happy that we acquired Melton. Ryan Swoops in the house. Bob Brinkman, most of the talent was already gone in the draft. So this gives us a guy that will get minutes now. Yeah, De'Anthony Melton's probably going to play 20 a night for you. And now you have – look, I've I understand Matisse Thybulle is what he is, and he's never going to give you a lick on the offensive end of the court. But I'm against just giving away a second-team all-defender off my bench who's young and in his prime so I can clear cap space for a PJ Tucker. I have a hard time doing that. And Tobias is overpaid, but Tobias is good. Tobias isn't great, but Tobias is good. So you got Harden, Maxey, Tobias, Embiid, and am I missing someone? Because Danny started last year. He's not going to be here. So I guess PJ Tucker will start.
Well, he's not going to play a lot of minutes, though.
As of right now, he is. Now you have like an offensive and
but you know what, though? The free agent period hasn't even started yet. This is not by any chance. He's not done adding pieces. So let's see what he does. Let's see what this team looks like by the middle of July. And then we can really judge, whether or not you think he did enough to get this team rolling.
Ryan Swoop, Matisse isn't as good a defender as people make it seem. He hasn't been first team. I bet you if he upped his offensive numbers a little bit, he would be on the first team. He's a really good defender. Like, I can't sit here and tell you he's not. He is. Now you have a guard, offensive, defensive guard platoon, at least for now. We'll see what they do with Matisse and De'Anthony Melton. That's good. The Sixers got better. You woke up Thursday morning and the Sixers were what they were, and you woke up Friday morning. You can't see that De'Anthony Melton gives you more value than what the 23rd pick in the draft was going to give you. Then I don't know. I really can't help you. And you still have – look, you got to find a way to get Shake Milton and George Niang and B-Ball Paul. Like, you need to sign guys that force them down the depth chart because they're not good enough to be contributors on a contending team. They're just not. And all the players I just named have skill sets and have shown flashes, but I think the Warriors and the Celtics showed you that you need guards that can go. You need 4 to 5, even 6 guards that can go if you want to win a championship. Brian Daly, don't really know a lot about Melton, but I'm going to be optimistic that he will make the Sixers team better. He was drafted in 2018 by Morey when he was with the Rockets. So at least you're dipping in. Daryl Morey loves his Rockets. I think he thinks he should have won a championship or two down there in Houston. And I guess he's just disregarding that, the guys like PJ Tucker and Eric Gordon are past their prime. And he's also ignoring the fact that he didn't win in Houston. But, De'Anthony Melton's 24. So it's kind of a different kind of addition.
Well, this is a guy who can improve, too. He can get better. He's only 24 years old.
He could, but I'm getting a guy who's – I kind of view it as like he is what he is. If he's starting for you, I don't know how sustainable that is if you're trying to win a championship. But if he's your 6th man, 7th man, like you can absolutely do a lot worse than that.
I think he's probably would be most productive as an 8-man. We got a question, by the way, from Amanda before.
Yeah, what did she ask?
She wanted to know about Bryce Harper's injury. How long?
So you guys saw what happened to Bryce Harper on Saturday. How long do you think he will be out for, and when do you think he will be back? And also, what do you think of the bullpen? The bullpen stinks, but it's been good. Like, without Bryce, you can't let leads in the late innings slip away. You don't have wiggle room. But as far as Bryce, it's more the reports are.
It sounds to me like a month. That's what I've heard. He's going to be out of.
He's seeing a hand specialist today, so we'll see. And he was in the dugout yesterday with only a splint on his thumb. So take that for what it's worth. How long he's going to be out for? I read a beat writer on Twitter today. I forget who it was, so I apologize for that. That it explained it that it was worse than Moniak's broken hand, which kept him out pretty much 8 weeks. And it's not as severe of an injury as Gene Segura suffered when he broke his ring finger. Gene Segura is obviously going to be out until probably September 1st at the earliest. We're going to get into the Phillies later, but obviously this is a devastating blow to the Phillies. He's a potential MVP of the whole league. But, I mean, there are bright spots.
It looks like Dominguez is going to end up being your closer, which
as he should be. That was
which looks
suicide by Rob Thompson yesterday, not pitching Sir Anthony in the ninth and letting Valletta pitch the ninth. But it worked out. They got the win. They took 3 out of 4 in San Diego. San Diego has a better record than the Dodgers. So I guess they like it out west. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, Yu Darvish pitched a hell of a game. And as soon as he came out, the floodgates opened.
But honestly, I think Bryce and Gene Segura are September 1st returns, realistically.
I don't know how you stay afloat without those two guys.
How you stay afloat is Nick Castellanos had 4 hits yesterday. Nick Castellanos is also going to serve as the team's full-time DH, I would assume, making your defense better. Then you got Schwarber in left. You got Herrera in center, which they seem to like him out there as opposed to the corners. And then you'll have Vierling and Moniak and different guys. They claimed Oscar Mercado from the the Guardians.
They'll pick somebody. They'll pick somebody up.
Oscar Mercado kind of stinks.
Yeah, but I think that at some point in the next couple of weeks, they'll find a serviceable major league ball player to go out there and play.
So I think the Phillies are going to be without Bryce Harper and Gene Segura, arguably your 2 best hitters on the whole team, certainly from an average standpoint, until late August, early September. And then
I just don't know how you guys are going to be competitive without those guys. It's going to be tough. You're going to have monster years from Castellanos and Castellanos.
JT's really the whole key.
Yeah, he's got to be.
He sat yesterday and they still won. Stubbs, his backup Garrett Stubbs got a couple hits. Who seems like certainly a serviceable backup. But yeah, it's going to be tough sledding. Now they're off today, as many teams are on this Monday. It's a decent slate of games in the MLB. But I mean, they got the Braves coming into Citizens Bank Park for 3 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
3 huge games. Got to win 2 out of 3. Now they caught a break because Acuna is not going to be playing.
Braves are still loaded, and I think that this 3-game set is going to be an indication on how they need to adapt without Bryce. Like I said, like JT and Nick Castellanos, they got to play like the back of their baseball cards. They're making $20 million a piece a year. So they got to do that.
Is doing his part.
And then, the lights, you can't let late game leads slip away. Like that day has to be dead. If you get to the 7th, 8th inning with a lead, you need the bullpen to step up and do their thing and lock it down. They're a guy short in the bullpen. Connor Brogdon, been one of their better bullpen guys. He's on the COVID list.
Oh, jeez. Guys just can't catch a break. Yeah, that team just can't seem to catch a break right now.
But
anyway,
Knable seems to have found a home in the 7th.
Let's get back to the Sixers again, because we were talking about that. I just wanted
we got a couple more
comments. I wanted her to ask her to answer her question. That's all.
If he's a great defender, why isn't he getting back to Matisse? If he's a great defender, why hasn't he made first team? Only 5 guys make first team.
That's asking a lot. There's
hard.
Exceptionally good defensive players out there. He's not a defensive liability. If anybody wants to know that, he's not going to hurt you defensively.
You need a guy that can come off your bench and, stop people. He'd be my 5th starter right now if the season started today. Morey's going to do his thing and, like I said, put more of his fingerprints on this offseason. But as assembled right now, I'm playing Tobias at the 4 going small, starting Matisse at the 3 with Maxey and Harden in the front court, and obviously you have Joe underneath. And just about the defensive player of the year, I mean, Joe's one of the best rim protectors in the whole league, and he didn't make first or second team all defense. So, I mean, the awards all are what they are. Like Bobby Abreu won a Gold Glove before because it was a thin year and the voters used his offensive numbers as a little bit of a tiebreak. Bobby Abreu was never a Gold Glove caliber outfielder.
No, if the ball was hit to the warning track, he wasn't going to catch it. So I remember what he used to do. He did the same thing in the Bronx as he did with you guys.
And then what you
the
make,
and the ball would drop.
Whether it's first team All NBA, whether it's second team All NBA, or the All Defense team, or the All Star game, like it's politics, a little bit. Like once you make the All Star game, you have that stench on you that you're an All Star. So if Ty's going to go to the previous All Star, the Ty's going to go to the previous All Defensive Team guy. But I mean, I watched Matisse Thybulle play for 3-4 years now, and he's an excellent defender. And he can slash when he wants to, but he's not consistent enough on offense. That's why you get a guy like De'Anthony Melton in here that can offset his lack of offense.
But you've got guys that can score. That's the whole point. I mean, you've got Embiid, Harden, and you've got enough scoring. There's no reason why you can't score enough. I don't think scoring is the issue with this team. They need to fix their bench. They've done a good job so far. That was a good start. They need 2 more bench players, and if they could find a guy who can start as a 2, that's great. If they can't, I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about it. They've got enough guys to put the ball in the basket.
And it looks like the big that they're going to add is PJ Tucker. Joe wants it. He used to be on the Rockets with Daryl Morey. There's way too much smoke there for there not to be a fire. So PJ Tucker is going to be on this basketball team. That's just the way it is. There's stuff to like about that, and there's stuff not to like about that. I fear that the contract, 3 years, $30 million, you only get 1 year out of him. Then you got to give him $10 million for the last 2. I don't know how smart that is. If you do that, you better win a championship because you're not going to be able to get another difference maker until the Tobias contract is up. Tobias is owed roughly $75 million over the next 2 years because of his max contract, which that is what it is. They needed to fill the max slot when Jimmy left, and that's what we got. We got Tobias at 5 years, 180. And Thomas Arnone to the poll, absolutely. I more want to talk to the people who don't think it was a good idea, who don't think the Sixers are better. It's clear as day that they are. And now Morey's going to.
He's more real. To be honest with you, he's more of a 7 or an 8 right now. You guys are not done, so let's see what happens. Before the season starts, as far as bringing in more guys, you got to bring in some more guys.
There's only so much they can do, Brad, with the money that they're. I guess Harden has till Wednesday to decide if he's opting in for $47 million.
He'll be in, you know that.
He should be. I mean,
he's not giving away $47 million. He'll take his $47 million and then he'll try to get it.
If he cared about winning. If he cared about winning, he would opt out and sign a 2 or 3 year deal at less than max.
Yeah, he's not going to do that.
No, why would he? There's no motivation for him to do that. He's going to opt into his $47 million, and then he's going to get a 2 to 3 year extension on top of that. So you're probably going to have Harden for at least 3 years at 47, mid-30s. So, like, the window's now. So if Daryl Morey thinks giving 3 years, $30 million to P.J. Tucker is going to get you over the hump, then I guess you do that. I'm skeptical, but I wish he was 35, not 38. I wish he was 35, not 38. And Eric Gordon, I have no time for.
How old is Jimmy Butler right now?
He's over 30.
Well over 30.
But, the Heat, as they always are in the middle of all these rumors for Durant and Bradley Beal and trading, their depth to get stars.
From what I've heard, Beal is going back to Washington. He loves it there.
He loves the money there.
And he loves playing there.
Look, Bradley Beal can do whatever he wants. He's earned that right with his performance and being on the Wizards his whole career. So he can sign with the most money with the Wizards.
He also likes playing there for whatever reason. So that's his choice, and he obviously,
I think if the Wizards weren't able to offer him the most money of anybody, I think that tune would be different.
They could do a sign and trade though. Right?
I fully expect Bradley Beal to be on a different basketball team next year, whether it's Portland, who seems to be wanting to make a splash, or the Hawks, looking like they're the sleeper team this offseason, because there's rumors flying around that the Hawks are going to get DeJounte Murray, who's an excellent point guard for the San Antonio Spurs. So if that happens and you have a guard combination of DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, that's going to vault you up the Eastern Conference power rankings, which we're going to go over here in a second. Ryan Swoop, yes, Matisse is an excellent defender. The league talks about him as a great defender, but then he doesn't make the first team. It makes no sense. I like his defense. Look, you got to get off this first team crap. He's a second team. Being a second team all NBA defender indicates to me that you're in the top 10 to 15 defenders in the entire league, in a league that isn't really interested in playing defense. So to just dismiss what Matisse Thybulle brings to the table, I think is short-sighted and wrong. I think he helps you win. And I would start him as the team stands right now. And you have Melton as your sixth man, as it stands right now. And, yeah, I think he's not first team because of his lack of offense. Who even made first team? Let me bring that up. Because I guarantee you.
I mean, you're right about one thing, and I would say this: the top 10 there's probably not really that considerable of a difference as far as that goes defensively. I mean, how do you really know?
Did I lose you?
No.
You there?
I'm here.
All right, cool. So I'm bringing that up, and Ryan Swooby agrees with the poll. It's an excellent pickup. Don 19, what's up, fellas? Feeling good about the Pistons' future. Yeah, the Pistons were big winners in the draft. You come away with Jaden Ivey.
Ivy's a good player, and that's definitely going to help him.
And you also get Jalen Duran, center out of Memphis, who I talked about last week as being a legitimate option for the Sixers if he were there at pick 23, which he wasn't, nor should he have been. He's a really good player. But, yeah, the Pistons take full advantage of the Knicks trying to clear cap space. And they got young and they got good. And then they're on DeAndre Ayton watch, in my opinion. I think they're going to do a sign and trade with Phoenix, and Phoenix is going to end up with Duran, and Ayton's going to end up in Detroit. I don't know what the Spurs are doing.
I think the Knicks are going to end up with Jalen Brunson. I think that's pretty obvious at this point.
It's pretty obvious they're going to try.
Well, if they give him a max contract, Dallas is not going to pay him when he plays the same position as Luka Doncic. So that's pretty much. I mean, it's and
yeah, but like Brad,
his father is on the coaching staff of the Knicks. You know,
And Memphis didn't even go to the Western Conference Finals. Wasn't it Dallas?
Huh?
Dallas was in the Western Conference Finals. So I'm wrong on that count too. I think, right?
Yeah, they were in the conference finals.
Yeah, but they were in the conference finals because they had Luka, Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson,
right?
But all these
Jalen
guards
Brunson,
that can go. That's the formula in today's NBA.
He plays the same position as Luka Doncic, though. So
you got to get off that too. The NBA is a different breed. It's hybrid freaks and positionless basketball, and having guards that can absolutely go.
Can they afford
the Warriors? They built a dynasty on it.
I don't think they can afford to pay him. I don't think they can afford to pay him.
Well, if the Knicks want to get, is that smart for the Knicks to give Jalen Brunson a poison pill contract?
Probably.
I don't think he's that good.
Well, he was pretty darn good last year. Listen, he's a heck of a lot better than their options right now.
So Ryan Swoop, he's worried about the Sixers' offense. Oh, he's not worried about the Sixers' offense one bit. It's their all-around defense and bench. Maybe their bench offense is a little iffy, but not a huge concern. Enough bench depth is the issue, but their all-around team defense, both starting and bench, is very concerning. Well, we knew that's what we were getting into, Ryan. When you trade Ben Simmons, who say what you want about him, he's a loser, he's a crumb, and I agree with all that. But he could cover 1 through 5 at a very high level. He was just not interested in developing as an offensive talent, making him worthless. And he wouldn't show up, making him worthless. So you knew doing the Harden-Simmons exchange was going to really, really hurt your defense. And Maxey, he's just not there yet defensively. I don't know how good of a defender he's going to project out to be. C-Mac checking us out on YouTube. This is why the Sixers are done. This is why the Sixers are done and won't ever come close to returning the Eastern Conference Finals. Harden opting in, taking $47 million is 100% ridiculous when he's made over $180 million in his career. Who needs all that much money?
Apparently he does.
Look, I can't even – if I were a professional athlete, I wouldn't care what team I was on. I would go for the money. You have a small window of time to get your money, and
everybody would go for the money. So that's not fair to give him a hard time about it. If he's got a guarantee of $47 million, he should take it and then worry about getting a new contract next year.
What I don't want to do is have him opt in and then pile on years and money in the $30 million on top. Like, let him play his $47 million and then see what's what next offseason, if that's what he wants to do. Now, if he wants to sacrifice so he can bring in PJ Tucker and maybe another guy, then opt out, sign a 3-year, $100 million deal, and you save a little bit, and you can make the team more win now.
He's not going to do that, though.
I don't expect him to do that. Now, I would never even.
Harden is not the kind of guy that's going to do that. Harden is going to take every dime.
Look, when you spend $250,000 every time you go to a strip club, like, yeah, you need $47 million a year. Hopefully he's smarter with the rest of his money than that. Because I don't know what skills he has outside of basketball. So I don't know where his income is going to come post-basketball. And that's true for a lot of guys. Not everyone's Draymond Green, who's successful, smart, well-spoken, clearly has a job in media waiting for him at the end of his career. Steph Curry, he's built his brand up to where he'll never have to worry about money again.
Exactly.
Same with Durant. Same with, a lot of other guys that have built their brand. James Harden's brand is step-back threes and strip clubs. So, yeah, when your brand is step-back threes and strip clubs, yeah, you need $47 million a year. And I'm never gonna disown an athlete for paper chasing at all. But yeah, if the Sixers, if you look at the East, Brad, like everyone's chasing Boston, right? Their ownership's great. Brad Stevens is a great personnel guy. Ume Udoka is a great coach. You have Smart, Jaylen Brown, Tatum on your perimeter. You have great grit guys like Grant Williams and Horford and Robert Williams and, just a hockey rotation of lineups. The Warriors.
Yeah, they're deep and they're really good.
Then you look at Milwaukee, who couldn't beat Boston this time around.
Forget, you know why they couldn't beat they couldn't beat Boston because they were missing Middleton, I think, weren't they?
Missing Chris Middleton. Great point.
That's really, if you really want to get into what happened there, I think that was clearly a problem.
And then the Nets are going to win a lot of games with Durant and Kyrie just on star power. They're going to win 50 games in the East by default. Are the Sixers going to win 50 games? I don't know. The Heat.
Oh, I think they will.
The Heat are just a well-rounded basketball team. Another team that's run properly from an ownership perspective.
They're going to find a way to. They're going to find a way to improve their team too. They're going to bring in somebody.
So I'm looking at the Sixers right now as the same middle of the pack Eastern Conference team, and the East is way better than the West. And I think the Hawks have. Look, if the Hawks get DeJounte Murray and don't really have to give up much, that puts them in the mix as well. Because Trae Young can score in bunches. DeJounte Murray is great. They have guys like Herder who can come off the bench and shoot. John Collins, Clint Capella. So, you got to keep working. It's not the East of the mid-'90s. That's less superior to that of the West. The East is the cream of the crop when it comes to conferences. So I still view the team as a 4 or 5 seed, 6 seed at worst in the East.
They're not going to be the 6 seed. That's not going to happen.
Are you sure about that?
They're going to be probably in the top 3.
I don't know, because every time they play Milwaukee or Brooklyn, it seems not to go well.
Yeah, but Brooklyn is also inconsistent. Kyrie's going to miss a lot of games. Durant's going to get hurt.
But he doesn't have to be vaccinated to play in New York anymore.
No, I know.
You don't think that's going to contribute to his availability? Meaning he's going to be available a lot more?
He will, but Kyrie with his knees and his shoulder, he'll miss his share of games. You know that, and so will Durant. They just do. I mean, it is what it is.
Ryan Swoop, Beal to Miami would be a great pickup.
Ugh,
Depends what you give up. Look, Bradley Beal, he's not for me from a Sixers perspective. He's a trophy player. Like you said, Brad.
Yeah,
and the Sixers have enough of those.
They don't need any more guys like that. They need role players.
Am I supposed to give up Tobias Harris for Bradley Beal? I think that makes you worse.
How does it? It doesn't make you better. I think that's basically just a parallel move.
Good point. I would agree with that.
I mean, you can make the argument who you think is better all you want between the two of them. Between the two of them, is one better than the other?
Don 19, he's chiming in on the DeJounte Murray to Atlanta rumors. It's going to be John Collins for DeJounte Murray. That's an awful trade. It's an awful trade for the Spurs.
Why would the Spurs do that?
I don't know. Pop's going nuts, I think. I don't know. That's not a trade that I would even entertain potentially making. It's a guard league. It's not a power forward league.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see that happening at all.
And you have no perimeter guys. You have a bunch of the Spurs would be a bunch of wings. You already have Poodle underneath, who's not bad. And you have a bunch of guys like Keldon Johnson and guys like that. I don't know.
I don't see them doing that.
And I'm totally against DeJounte Murray coming to an already pretty loaded East. And because Trae Young, that's your defensive complement in the backcourt to Trae Young. Trae Young, he's not a world beater defensively. DeJounte Murray is. He's got great size and physical.
Trae
and he can
Young
make plays.
is a terrific offensive player. And because he's such a good offensive player, that makes up for a lot defensively, Rob.
SLR, no offense.
You got the big dog under the basket, too.
No offense, but the SLR, check this out on YouTube. No offense, that's really not your business, but Harden has a lot of business deals. I know it's a stake in professional soccer team. Maybe some research would help. Okay, if he has all that, then he can easily opt out and take a little bit of a discount to try and win a championship. Something he's never really sniffed. He's never really been a guy that you say, oh, I have James Harden. That's what I need to get over the top. No, he's a trophy player who's past his prime, doesn't play defense, and isn't a 30-piece a night like he used to be in his early days of Brooklyn, Oklahoma City, or Houston.
No, and
I already said I don't fault guys for chasing money.
He's also that hamstring thing is problematic as well.
He's I already look SLR. If you listen to the show and listen to any shows that I've ever done here, no, I don't fault people for taking the money. That's a personal choice on whether you have enough money and enough business dealings off the court to take a discount to win a championship. James Harden might not care a lick about winning a championship. I don't know James Harden. So if you give zero fucks about winning a championship, then go ahead. Take your $47 million. Take your 2 to 3 year extension on top of the $47 million, probably mid-30s, at least $30 million for the additional 2 to 3 years.
Oh, he's going to be good for another $120,000.
What do you mean 120,000?
I mean 120 million.
120. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with you. So that hamstrings you even more to get guys in here that can help you win. So that's up to James Harden. If he wants his money, then he should opt in. If there's any ounce of him that wants to be a part of a winner, let's face it, if you win a championship in Philadelphia, you're never going to buy a beer again. You're never going to buy a lap dance again.
No.
So no, I'm not taking less. I would never take less, to answer SLR's question. I would be an independent contractor mercenary. I would get as much money as I can before the game forced me to retire. And if I got a championship in conducting my business that way, then great. If not, that's great too.
Yeah, but if you're a superstar, to cement your legacy, you really need to get a championship.
Yeah, but James Harden might think his legacy is his bank account. I don't know what James Harden makes. Yeah. What makes James Harden tick?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, listen, you can't argue with with that kind of money that he's going to have. So,
never.
Yeah, it is what it is.
And I don't know, if you would leave $47 million on the table so your team can win, you'd be a better teammate than I would be. Because I would not leave $47 million on the table. Brad, it doesn't sound like you would either.
Oh, hell no.
Ryan Swoop, Spurs always find ways to shock people. They always make players, especially international ones, fit them so well. They're like the NFL Patriots of the NBA. Still a dumb trade, though. I mean, it's easy to be the Patriots of the NBA when you have Tim Duncan, maybe the greatest power forward ever, a top 10 guy maybe of all time, as your anchor. And you fill in with Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker and all the other different guys that you had. What happened to the Patriots when they lost Tom Brady? They're not as good. They would
Not
make the
even
playoffs
close.
last year, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year.
They made the playoffs, and what happened? They got
They got
murdered.
drilled.
Listen, if you're going to make the playoffs and get beat that badly, don't even bother talking about making the playoffs. I'm sorry. I know that people say they want to see January football. I don't want to see my team get drilled the way they did.
Well, I would always advocate
Buffalo.
my teams.
Yeah, but you know, but Buffalo scored every time they had the ball in that game. That's
Buffalo's an unbelievable team.
But
They
that's
weren't as good as
Rob,
Buffalo.
that's embarrassing though. Come on.
It was embarrassing. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look at all.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's bad enough if that happens during the regular season, you know. But if you make the playoffs and get beat that bad, it doesn't make it look like you're actually it doesn't make it look like you're actually, you know, a championship contender. All it looks like is, well, they're
Playoffs is always better than no playoffs. It's better for your community. It's better for your fan base. It's better for your locker room. So if you can make the playoffs, you got to go for it. Especially in a sport with as much parity as football. Basketball's a little different.
I understand that, but again, you know, making the playoffs and getting destroyed, that to me doesn't make you a playoff team. You know,
that was their first.
You know,
that was their first game against the Patriots, right? That was a wild card game.
Yeah.
Obviously, because the Chiefs had home field, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'll always advocate making playoffs, even if you get embarrassed when you get there. Like I was ecstatic the Eagles made the playoffs last year, even though they got stomped out by a way better team in Tampa.
They did compared to what happened to New England. The Eagles look like one of the best teams in the NFL compared to the way New England played.
Well, yeah, the Eagles got hopped on early. They wrote the ship, but they couldn't score any points.
Yeah, I mean, at least they defensively, you know, they were able to at least hold them down a little bit and not just get stomped on every time they had the ball. I mean, the Bills scored a touchdown every time they had the ball. If you remember that game, they scored a touchdown every single time they had the ball, except for the last possession when they were just running out the clock. No
punts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they basically sat on the ball at the end, and I think New England got the ball back with about 20 seconds to go. That was the only time they got stopped. I mean, that can't happen.
There's a question for you about the Knicks, Brad, from Don. Check us out on YouTube like he always does. Do you think the Knicks are going to keep Julius Randle?
Yeah, I do. I
think he's a good player.
He is. Look, last year was a bad year for him. It just was. You know, I think he got frustrated with all the losing. You know, and it was just a bad look. I think this year he goes back to being Julius Randle. I think he also saw that R.J. Barrett developed and became a better player than him. It just the whole was I think just a bad situation. I think he will be back. I think for the Knicks to make the playoffs, he needs to be back. You know, R.J. Barrett needs to be the 2 guard, and they need to make sure they get Brunson over here and be the starting point guard. And they
still don't see them making the top 6 in the East.
They'll make the top 8 if they're able to somehow keep Mitch.
You got to get in the top 6 to avoid the play-in.
Yeah, well, I don't know that they can do that yet. Let's see what they end up doing. If they can bring in Brunson, that would certainly be a huge addition. I think it would really help because the one thing they need is some offense. They got some guys that can come off the bench and give you some instant offense, but they need that quality point guard. You know, that's what they're missing, and if they can get that, that would be huge. Last year, unfortunately for them, Derek Rose, you know, he got hurt. He missed 3/4 of the season last year, and that was a big loss because they didn't have a point guard. So, you know, they want to get a young point guard. So they've got all these guys now who are connected to Brunson with the Knicks. You know, and that's what they're going for. Now, whether they can get him or not, I don't know. I would hope that they're not clearing all this cap space and wasting all these draft picks, just to have a lunch date with him and have him go back to Dallas. I would hope that doesn't happen.
Well, you're clearing cap space, and you got 3 future first-round picks.
Yeah, no, I realize that, but you know what? You're not going to get the first pick in the draft. It's not like you're getting a lottery pick. They're all conditional draft picks, except for their own.
Ryan Swoop, why did the Knicks want to trade the Cam Reddish, who they acquired from the Hawks? He's Norristown, PA native, if I'm not mistaken. Well, Cam Reddish just isn't. He's just
Cam
not
Reddish
that good.
is a nice bench player. He's a nice guy that can come off the bench and give you some minutes, score, play defense. I mean, he's a very good athlete. He hasn't yet been able to show that he's an all-star or by any sense of the imagination or a legitimate starting player in the NBA yet.
And he's not going to be. I mean, he's been in the league long enough where you know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything's going to change with him. I mean, you never know, but it doesn't appear that that's going to be the case at this point.
So just to get back to the all-defensive team, all-defensive first team was Giannis, Mikal Bridges, Rudy Gobert, Jaren Jackson Jr. from Memphis, who's a really good player, and Marcus Smart. So obviously, like the voters felt that Giannis and Mikal Bridges from Phoenix were better options at the forward position to be first team all defense, which I can't really argue with. Giannis is a beast and Bridges is a beast. Mikal Bridges should be on the Sixers. That was a disaster of a trade. You had Mikal Bridges in your building. You drafted him 10th overall, and you traded him to Phoenix for Zaire Smith. Killing you. Right? That trade kills you. Not to mention,
I don't think anybody liked that trade when it was first made.
And then the second team, which is where Matisse is, Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, Draymond Green, Matisse Thybulle, and Robert Williams. So more forward. So I guess Matisse made it as a guard on the second team. Because Adebayo and Draymond are your forwards. Robert Williams is your center. Which is like, to be mentioned with those 10 names in terms of defense, that's a tremendous accomplishment. I'm not saying that sarcastically. Like that skill set can help you win. Like, who would you rather have on the Knicks, Matisse Thybulle or Cam Reddish?
Right now, Matisse Thybulle.
Like Cam Reddish
Cam Reddish hasn't really. I mean, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't really done anything that deserves any credit. Well, he just hasn't. I think Cam Reddish has a pretty good offensive game. I think he's a little bit better an offensive player than Thybulle, but he's not as good defensively. He's more of an athlete right now. I mean, right now, I just don't see him as anything more than a 7th or 8th man.
I mean, his career, 133 games in his career, he's a 10-a-game guy, and he doesn't give you any rebounds. He doesn't give you any assists. He's not a lights-out three-point shooter.
No, he's a slasher, and that's about it.
His field goal percentage is good. But, 40, is that really good? That's not really that good. If you're going to be a slasher, you got to give me 45% from the field. He makes his foul shots, which I guess that's good. But
as I said, if you're going to use him as your 7th or 8th guy, he's fine.
He got hurt last year.
Huh?
He got hurt last year.
Yeah, I know.
He hurt his shoulder, and
he had a couple of good games when he played, and then he got hurt, and that was it. I mean, he didn't play very much for the Knicks, but he's got some ability. But at this point, the Knicks are trying to find a star. That's what they want to do, and they cleared out some cap space. Now next year they're going to have all kinds of cap space. But again, the Knicks are playing the same game they did a few years ago when they tried to get when they wanted to get Kyrie and KD on the team. If you remember when they traded when they traded what's his name, the big tall guy, KP, when they traded him,
Unicorn.
Yep. When they traded him, they were trying to get a lot of cap space and get draft picks and yada yada yada, and and they figured, oh, we have all this extra cap space, and the rumors were that KD and Kyrie were going to come to New York. Well, they came to New York, but they went to the wrong borough.
And yeah,
I think they're trying to play the same game now with Brunson, and again, Brunson is not an unrestricted free agent, so I don't know if I just don't know how badly Dallas wants to keep him. I'm sure they do, but if the Knicks offer him a max deal, if they're going to offer him 4 years and $100 million, I don't know if Dallas can actually pay that for a guy who, basically for them, is not one of their top 2-3 players.
And Cam, he is from Norristown, Cam Reddish. So Ryan Swoop, right on the money with that. But he's not good, so I don't want him.
Well, the whole thing with Reddish, I think, if you're asking me for my Nick opinion, the reason they got him is because they've got Barrett, and they want to try to bring Zion in. Because Zion supposedly hates New Orleans and wants to come to New York. That's been what everybody seems to think.
Well, the problem with Zion, Brad, is
he's never on the court.
He's never on the court. He's consistently out of shape, and if he's out of shape, then it's going to be hard for him to rely on the explosiveness.
It's like the chicken or the egg, Rob. Is he out of shape because he's always hurt and he's never on the court, or is he always or is he getting
Brad,
hurt
when you're injured as much as he is, and every time you're injured you balloon up to 280, 300 pounds? Like that's a red flag.
That's a problem.
That's a very Nick thing to do, to get Zion Williamson in the mix.
Well, let's be honest.
How do you play Zion Williamson and Julius Randle together?
Well, when he came out of college, everybody wanted him. And there were red flags back then too when he hurt his ankle in his senior year.
Look, the NBA draft is all about potential. How much potential do you have to be the next mega super max guy?
Well, I would say this: if he's healthy, he's
very good.
Yeah, he's an outstanding player now. Whether he can get himself back into playing shape and play and be effective and not get hurt, we'll have to see. He's not going anywhere this year. But I believe after next season, not this season, but the following season, he's a UFA, so that they obviously would have a chance to get him, and the Knicks will have a lot of cap space after next season. So they have, I think, 5 guys right now who are on the last year of their contracts.
That's all I ever hear with the Knicks is they're going to have a lot of cap space, and then the cap space, it comes and goes, and they don't get anybody.
Because they always whiff, and nobody ever wants to come here. That's the problem. That's why it's so important that even if they overpay for Brunson, that they get him and get him in here, because then you've actually got Brunson, Randall, and and RJ Barrett. You got 3 legitimately good players. And if we can get Big Mitch playing center again, we're going to be looking okay.
Bob Brakeman, I think if we can get Morris instead of Tucker, I'm in.
Which Morris? The guy from the Clippers?
One of them is a free agent.
I think of the guy from the Clippers. He was good. He was good when he was with the Knicks. I think that was Marquise, wasn't it?
But, I mean...
He was good. He's a good player. I like him.
Let me see which one is actually a free agent. But, I mean, it's the same type of player. Morris is obviously a little bit younger. I don't even see him on the list here on Sports Track. But, I mean, that's the same type of guy. I would favor Morris over PJ Tucker because he's younger. Don
Yeah,
Don.
I'm not so sure about PJ Tucker at his age if they should be doing that. I'm really not, but if they insist, I don't know. I think there's better players out there that they could get than him. But look at Jimmy, but look at how old Jimmy Butler is, and he's still on the top of his game.
Rob, who has the most potential in the draft? I'm
Could be
assuming you
your boy
mean.
Jaden Ivey.
I'm assuming. First off, I think the Magic messed up big time, taking Banchero first. Not that Banchero is going to be bad, but I think Jabari Smith and Chet Holmgren have way higher upsides than him. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Especially, it's tough with NBA guys because you're drafting 18-year-old kids and you're hoping they blossom into $100 million face of the franchise adults. But I think Shaedon Sharpe went 7th to Portland. That guy's a freak. He's an absolute freak. He signed with Kentucky, didn't play with Kentucky. He's from Canada. He's 6'6". He's long. He's lanky. He's super explosive, and he's got a nice stroke. So outside the obvious, I would say Shaedon Sharpe. That would be my answer. Chet Holmgren, I have a little bit of concern about what position he's going to cover in the NBA. But Oklahoma City brought in an army after this draft. So they're building the right way. They have some guys in the mix as well. So that's a good fit there. And Jabari Smith should have went first. So the Rockets got a steal at 3. But I guess in the top.
I like Jaden Ivey at 5. Boy, that was.
I watched him no call, no show against St. Peter's in the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
he
but
played
you know what?
Horrendous. Maybe that's unfair of me to hold one game against the kid to the extent that I am.
At his age, I wouldn't be too concerned about that.
Like, you're probably right. I'm probably reacting a little bit, but
everybody
the top
loves him,
3. So in the top 3, I would say Jabari Smith. Going at 3 is a no-brainer gift for the Rockets. And outside the top 3, where the draft kind of got a little murky, I thought Portland did really well getting Shaedon Sharpe. I thought Shaedon Sharpe. I like Keegan Murray too. But yeah, I thought Shaedon Sharpe and Keegan Murray out of Iowa should have went ahead of Jaden Ivey. Especially when the Pistons traded Jeremy Grant, which I still don't quite get or understand. Jeremy Grant does a lot of things to help you win. But I think that they're going after Ayton. So that's their motives there, I guess. And Cade Cunningham's a freak. So that would be my analysis of the top of the draft for Don there. Don, yeah, prayers go out for Bryce Harper. Malachi Branham out of Ohio State. Like, Malachi Branham out of Ohio State is really, really, really raw. Really raw. Someone's going to have to sit on him for 2 to 3 years to develop, and that's not really what.
By the time he develops, his rookie contract will be over, and then you're going to end up having to pay him money.
Right. So you're using your whole guy like Branham, in my opinion at least. I watch a lot of college basketball, way more than the NBA. Is you have a 2 to 3 year project. And then when the project's complete, you have to make a decision almost immediately on whether this guy is worth a boatload of money. And then if he goes on somewhere, someone signs him to a boatload of money, and he fulfills his potential, you reap no benefits. Jaden Hardy, I don't know where he went. There was a lot of smoke with him with the Sixers at the 23rd pick. He was on the board when the Sixers picked at 23. But, Daryl Morey elected to get the proven commodity in De'Anthony Melton, which I think was the right move. I don't know anything about these G League guys. I know that the G League is a thing, and they go in the top 10, and, they can serve roles.
There are a lot of real good players in the G League now because these guys that come out of high school want to get paid immediately.
Jaden Hardy went to Dallas. Okay, maybe that means that they're going to go with Jaden Ivey and Brunson will be on the Knicks. I don't know. But, I wouldn't be trying to tear down a good thing in Dallas with a generational player like Luka.
But, Rob, it's almost inevitable that Brunson is going to end up a Knick.
Seems like it.
I mean, listen, as I said, Leon Rose used to be his agent. His dad is on the coaching staff. Derrick Rose and him are very tight. They're very good friends. And Derrick Rose has been saying good things about New York to him. So you've got three reasons plus the Knicks had the do-re-mi to pay him. And the Knicks haven't had a point guard really a good one since back in the 90s. I mean, let's be honest. Their point guard play over the last 20 years has been horrible. I mean, who was the last decent point guard we had? Stephon Marbury? I mean, I think you have to go back that long.
Yeah, I mean, Marbury was what he was.
Stephon Marbury was a real good player, but you know what?
And it fits. If you're going to overpay, you better overpay for a guard.
Well,
not a big guy, because that's not the direction of the league.
Well, that's not what they're doing, though. They want to get a guard. They have to get a point guard. I mean, I think they realize that they can't just depend on Derrick Rose to be the point guard. I think they like Quickly, but I think they want Quickly to come in off the bench, and be a wing. I think he's good enough to do that, and I think that's where he belongs. So I think Brunson is the key. If the Knicks can get Brunson, then they've got themselves something. Now they can at least compete to be a playoff team and have a reasonable chance of success. Not necessarily be champ. They're not going to be championship contenders, but they're certainly going to be a team that can go out, make the playoffs, and maybe win a round and get to the second round. Who knows?
And Don, he thinks the Cavs, Hornets, Wizards, they're all playing game candidates, which I agree with. I think the Pistons are going to make it next year.
Might be too soon for them, but we'll see.
I think Cade Cunningham's that good. And if you pair him with Ayton, with Sadiq Bey, and Jaden Ivey, I think that's a top 10 team in the East.
Could be.
And the West is really weak. So I think some teams are going to jump up in the West as well.
Listen, for the Pistons, it's only a matter of time. The Pistons are in their infancy right now, and they got some nice young building blocks right now. I just don't know if they're ready to get to that point yet. They might, though. So
the Sixers. So just to put a bow on this basketball talk for the night, we'll move on to some hockey and some baseball. And stay tuned for Tom Arnone, Ryan Brodo, and Run It Back Philly. They'll come on after us and take you through the night here on Monday night. Jimmy and Evan of the Flight Zone will be joining the Sports Hounds at 7:30. We'll start that next Monday. So we're changing things up, freshening things up here on A2D Radio. And why are we doing that? For you guys, the fans. We're trying to put the best product we can out there for the fans. So Sixers got better. Pretty universal agreement to the poll, which rarely happens here on A2D Radio. But I still have them as a 4-5 seed in the East. I think Brooklyn's. I think they're going to end up being number 3.
So
basically you think that the Sixers are going to win more games than Brooklyn?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that's where Brooklyn, we differ.
The reason I do is because I just think that between Kyrie and Durant, they're both off their rockers. They don't play enough. And the Nets will have a good team. Don't get me wrong. And if the two of them are playing at the same time in the playoffs and they're both healthy, they're going to be a very tough out. But we haven't seen that yet. It's been 3 years now since these two got together, or 2 years? 2 years.
Mario on YouTube, he thinks De'Anthony Melton means absolutely nothing. Why? All we did in the playoffs last year was scream that we didn't have enough depth. This is instead of getting a kid, a developmental project like Jaden Hardy at the 23rd pick, or a maybe big guy like Christian Coloco out of Arizona, you get a proven guard that improves your depth.
Listen.
So I don't think that does nothing.
Rob,
why do you think it does nothing, Mario? I don't understand.
You've got 2 years to win an NBA championship. Okay? Your window, realistically, is another 2 years. After 2 years, it's going to be hard because now your guys are going to start getting old, and they're possibly, exiting their prime. So the next 2 years, it's got to happen. Now's the time. If the Sixers are going to, in my opinion, they need to basically take their cards and their chips and go all in and do what they have to do to win a championship. Kind of like what the Colorado Avalanche did in the NHL. They went all in, made as many trades as they could to strengthen that team, and won a championship. That's what the Sixers need to do. They need to go all in, put their best cards on the table, put their chips in the middle of the table, and go all in. It's time.
All right, he's Brad Ryer.
No more developing players. No more of that crap, okay? It's time to win now. You don't know how long Embiid is going to be at the top of his game. You just don't. He's not getting any younger. As he gets older, his health is going to be a little worse and a little worse every year. And you don't want to all of a sudden have a guy, time run out on him the way Patrick Ewing did. I mean, the Knicks for years and years and years wouldn't put all their chips in the middle of the table. And all of a sudden Patrick Ewing's knees gave out and he wasn't a star anymore. And ever since then, the Knicks have not been the same team. This could happen to the Sixers too. They've got to do it now. Now's the time. If they win a championship, and then the next couple of years they stink, nobody's going to remember that they stink. They're all going to think about, hey, they won a championship. They get a reprieve to try to rebuild the team.
I mean, Trill, G-Baby too, who the hell did they ever develop? I mean, you have a top 10 guy in Embiid that you developed, and you have
actually looks like a pretty nice
21st pick in the draft that looks like everybody is in love with. It certainly looks like he's going to sign a $100 million contract in this league one day. So you developed him. That's who. Like, how many times did they push the chips in the middle of the table and failed? I mean, I would say once. When they traded for Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris and they lost on that bad luck circus shot by Kawhi Leonard, that was the year they went all in and pushed it in the middle of the table, and they lost.
Well, you know what? They've got to do it again. And not only do they have to do it again, there needs to be some urgency in doing it again because it can't continue like this.
Trill G-Boy too. Yeah, 2 out of 20. I mean, the teams that hit more than 2 out of 20, those are the teams that win championships. I hear you. But to act like they haven't developed anyone and they haven't been in the mix for the past 7-8 years, championship mix, I would say, is not fair either.
No, they've been the last 4 years. No question. But again, it's getting to a point now. Is Embiid 30 yet?
He's right there.
Okay.
I think he's below, but not by a lot.
His body is more like 32 or 33 than 28 or 29 now. Let's be honest. Okay. Big players don't generally stay great as long as guards do.
No, and Joe's hurt every year. Joe's hurt. That's
what I'm saying. Next 2 years, they've got to win the championship. I mean, there's no more excuses. Go out and do what you got to do.
So,
and again, avoid the mistake of going after the trophy. You don't need the trophy anymore.
So to Trill's point on YouTube, like
you've got three trophies on your team. You got 3 guys that a lot of teams would love to have on their team. Between Embiid, I know Harden isn't as good as he used to be, but Harden still has some game left, and Thybulle is a good player, and so is what's his name, the other guard.
Tobias Harris is good too.
Harris is good too. I mean, you've got a real solid team. I mean, this is the time. No more screwing around anymore. That's it. This is it. You know, I mean, how much longer do you think Joel Embiid is going to be the best center in the NBA? How long do you think?
3 years.
Yeah, I think it's time.
It's absolutely time, and I think it's a good start with De'Anthony
Melton.
Melton.
You know what?
See what else they do.
Listen, if over the next 2 or 3 years you can win a championship, that's great. And if you have to start all over again after you win a championship, you got your ring. You got your ring. That's what you play for. Okay, it's not so easy. You know, you see what happens. You see what happens. You can see in all sports how hard it is to win a championship now. You know, in professional sports, you know, they all have caps and they all have free agency. You know, and it's hard as hell to keep a team together. This is it. I mean, the next couple of years they've got to be able to make the right moves and have a championship team. You've already paid guys to be your key players, okay? So you know what? You can't get rid of them. Stick with what you got. Go get some depth and win a championship. It's time.
So this is A2D Radio Monday night. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Periscope. Stream us, download us wherever you get your podcasts, Breaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. As always, we're brought to you by All Campus down the Ocean City Boardwalk between 10th and 11th Street. We're also brought to you by ARIA Public Adjusting. All Campus also gives you 20% off if you're an A2D member. A2D membership, $9.99 a month. You get gambling picks from the Money Pop Podcast, Willie Vegas, as well as many other perks. But Don19, Brad, he brought it up in the chat. Congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche. They kill the beast that is Tampa Bay. They win the cup in 6 games, and the better team won.
Absolutely. Listen, Colorado is just beastly. I mean, those first 3 lines, and then their fourth line is a checking line, but those first 3 lines are deadly. They all can score. They all can, you know, they all play with an edge, and they can fly. They fly around the ice. I mean, that is some team, and I'll tell you what, they're probably going to be the favorites to win again next year. I personally don't like their goalie at all. Do not like Kumper. Francois, however you pronounce his name, Francois or whatever, however you pronounce his name, okay? I don't think he's any good either. Listen, Kemper is okay, but I mean, they have a fabulous defense, Colorado. I think Colorado could actually be better if they go out and bring in a better goaltender, which is scary to think. Tampa Bay is just they're really a gutty team, but you know, Father Time catches up to everybody. I don't see Tampa Bay being able to cross that line and win another championship again unless they're able to do something magical in the offseason.
Do you think Claude Giroux is having second thoughts on crossing Colorado off his no-trade list at the last second and going to Florida? As it seems, he threw away a championship by going to Florida over Colorado.
Possibly.
Sounds like he's going to be in Florida for a while. I think he's going to re-sign there.
Look, Florida, you know, you and I have had this conversation before about playing in Florida. Okay, with the money, with the whole money thing, with the taxes, you can make the most money playing in Florida. Now, maybe he's not a cold weather guy and he just doesn't want to be in Denver. You know, Denver's not for everybody.
Yeah, you have the altitude, but I mean, they're loaded.
No, I understand that, but you know, some people don't want to play there. It's just like, you know, some people don't want to play in Calgary or Winnipeg, even though they're great hockey teams. They're great hockey towns. I'm sorry, not great teams, but they're great hockey towns. A lot of people don't want to play there. Everybody wants to play in Florida. Everybody wants to play in Texas because the weather's nice and you can go out and play golf. Everybody wants to play in Vegas because it's a cool place to play. And again, the tax laws in Nevada are extremely favorable. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for a lot of stuff to go on. And quite frankly, I think Giroux is probably happy to live in Florida.
It's not a bad place to live, but anyway, the Avs, they win the Cup. They're going to be around for a while in the West.
Absolutely, they are a magnificent hockey team.
You got McKinnon, you got Landeskog, you got McCarr, you got great coaching. You got 3-4 lines that can light the lamp. So they're going to be.
They're also the toughest team in the league. Just to throw insult to injury. I mean, they didn't even bother dressing their tough guys in the series because they didn't feel like they needed to because they didn't think Tampa Bay was all that tough. So that should tell you just how good that team is.
All right, so we do have breaking news on the Bryce Harper situation. According to Scott Lauber of the Philadelphia Inquirer, does the team. He's a good beat writer. He's indicating that Bryce Harper will most likely need surgery on his thumb, putting his timetable for return at 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks is what he's saying.
I heard 4 weeks this morning. 4 to 6 weeks is a long time.
So hopefully Gene and Harper can come back around for the September push, and hopefully this baseball team can be.
Hopefully they'll still be in it.
Equipped for that. Obviously, transitioning to baseball now, like this is there's no really good way to spin this because Bryce Harper is tremendous, and he's the straw that stirs the drink here in Philadelphia, both at the ticket window and on the field. The only two silver linings I can think of that can potentially make this okay is that the team stays afloat somehow without him, which they won yesterday without him in San Diego. Kyle Schwarber's been a menace in June. Unbelievable statistics. 4 to 6 weeks, his elbow's going to rest. Remember, he's got the elbow too. So that can maybe heal up over this time period as well. And you're going to get better defensively because you're going to get Nick out of the field and he's going to be the DH. And, you have a more versatile defensive player out in right field. There's talent. There's enough talent on the Phillies for them to stay afloat. For them
I don't know about that. That's going to be. I don't know how. I don't think that team is deep enough that they can get away with all these injuries. But maybe they'll prove me wrong. I don't know. You're asking a lot. That's a lot of talent to lose. I mean, you lost the MVP for 6 weeks. You lost a very good player in Segura. It's going to be really hard for them to be able to hang in there. They've got a couple of real good pitchers, but the rest of the pitching staff is very ordinary. They have discovered that they have a closer on their team, and his name is Sir Anthony Dominguez. So at least they've got that on their team now. So at least when they get to the ninth inning, they have somebody who can actually get people out that you can feel a little bit more confident in. They've got to find a way, or some of these guys just have to step up.
So your 8 games
are 1 and 2 are. I think are top notch for you. They're pitching 1 and 2, top notch. The rest of the pitching staff, I couldn't trust any of them.
So you're 8 games back of the Mets. We'll put the division out of it. Not going to win the division. I don't see how they make up 8 games on the Mets without.
Especially
Harper.
when Scherzer's coming back next week,
and DeGrom
will be coming back probably in August. Maybe the middle of August.
Can this team stay in the hunt? Like Atlanta coming up, 3-game set.
See, this is where it's going to hurt against teams like listen. And I don't want to say I'm not going to say San Diego isn't a bad. San Diego is a good team, but It's a little different when you're playing the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are in your division, and they are the world champions. And at this point in the season, yeah, they just lost Acuna, but they won the championship last year without Acuna. So it's not like this team can't get there. It's going to be tough. They're if they could stay within striking distance of the wild card, stay within 5 games by the time these guys get healthy again and come back, or stay within 5 games until maybe they can go out and pick up a professional hitter to play in the outfield while Bryce Harper is gone. That's kind of, if they could do that, then they've got a real shot.
Don't you think they can score enough runs if Castellanos and JT hit? Which I still think Nick Castellano is going to get his numbers.
He's a professional hitter. I mean, he's a good hitter. Look, they still. I'm trying to think. Their line. They have Hoskins.
So they're going to go Schwarber. They're going to go Schwarber, Hoskins, Castellanos at DH,
and JT.
JT didn't play yesterday, so Didi hit 4th. Bohm hit 5th.
Okay, but I mean, he's a catcher. He can't play every day. So I mean,
get it.
But he's going to play most of the time. So, or he could DH when he has days off, I guess. So I don't know.
So
Rob.
if you have a top four of Schwarber, Hoskins, Castellanos, Realmuto, based on their paychecks, that should be enough to score enough runs to keep you at least afloat while Bryce Harper heals up and Gene Segura heals up.
Yeah, but can they hit good pitching though?
Well, I think we're going to find out.
That's the question. I mean,
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at home against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, it should be an interesting test. I don't know. I think they're in big trouble this year. I just think that everything that can go wrong for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Like, I can't beat out San Francisco or the second place team in the Central. I can't stay in the mix with them. You're 1.5 out of the third wild card right now.
Yeah, but you don't have
by St. Louis.
But you don't have arguably the best player in the National League.
I get that.
And you don't have Segura, who's probably the second best hitter in your lineup. That's going to be tough. You guys weren't exactly killing the baseball as it was. I mean, that's the problem. It's not like you've been scoring a ton of runs. And as I said, your starting pitching right now, your first two, your number 1 and 2, have been lights out. They've been absolutely brilliant. But
look, I'm not saying that this team has no wiggle room. They have no wiggle room at the back end of the bullpen, which has been an issue. Can't let those leads slip away. And players who have underachieved, like Nick Castellanos and JT Realmuto, are going to have to play like $20 million players. If they don't play like $20 million players or hit like $20 million players,
but even with
you're
them,
100% spot on about the Phillies.
Who is going to step up, though?
It's got to be Nick and JT. Nick, I believe in, and I still don't know what's going on with Realmuto. He has no power. He's only got 4 home runs.
You know what? He may be just having a lousy first half. Maybe he's going to be a second half player.
It's time to snap out of it because the team needs him, and the team needs Castellanos.
It's a funny thing. Last year, Kyle Schwarber, I think, had 5 home runs going into June 1st. And he hit like 18 home runs, I think, or something ridiculous like that in June last year. And he's doing the same thing. He did the same thing again this year in June. There are certain players.
He hit one yesterday, Brad, to take the lead the other way. I still don't think it's landed.
Which one? Oh, Schwarber.
Schwarber
has unbelievable power. Schwarber hits balls like Stanton and Judge. He's the same kind of home run hitter. He's not quite the average hitter those guys are, but he's got that kind of power, Schwarber. He can hit a home run in any ballpark to any part of any ballpark. We've seen that before, and I'm still surprised that the Red Sox didn't keep him. Kind of not really understanding why they didn't keep him. They've got plenty of money. But they've got the problem with the Phillies is what I'm very nervous about, and it's the same problem the Yankees have, is manufacturing runs. Getting runs without having to hit home runs all the time. And there
Gator country, more walks, more aggressive base running. Look, the Phillies have been fairly aggressive on the base pass. I mean, Bryce had 9 steals. JT, I think, has 5 steals. So, like, they're running. Thompson and Girardi have been aggressive, but, yeah, they don't manufacture runs.
I mean, the Yankees,
right.
I have the Yankee game on right now, and they're losing 5-3. It was 5-1, and they're starting to come back. Their last run they scored, LeMahieu walked, stole second base, and Judge got a single and knocked him in. These are the kind of things that the Phillies have to start doing pretty much on a regular basis because their big power guy is gone, and their best professional hitter, other than Harper, is gone for a while now. So somebody else is going to have to step up. And I'm not talking about just Castellanos and Schwarber. They're given that they have to step up, but somebody else in that lineup has to step up and really, really play some big-time baseball. They're going to need that. But whether it's Alec Boehm or Herrera, it's got to happen, and it's got to happen, within the next couple of days. It's got to happen in the Braves series.
When you start as poorly as the Phillies, you can. Everyone was healthy during their bad start. Like, this is where the bad start really hurts you. I still maintain they can stay afloat with the likes of the Cardinals and the Giants and the Brewers and teams like that.
If they can, if they can stay afloat and stay close,
it's like
when
nothing's
they do get
changed.
These guys back, when they get these guys back, it's going to be they're going to have a ton of confidence when they get these guys back, and they'll be tough.
Nothing's changed in terms of the National League outlook. Nothing.
Yeah, no, I agree, but again,
the Mets are going, the Braves are going, the Padres are going, the Dodgers are going, and then there's one slot for second place in the Central, the Giants and the Phillies. You look past that, it's the Marlins and the Pirates and the Diamondbacks. They're not going to the playoffs.
No,
I don't care if Bryce Harper is hitting 60 home runs or hitting negative 5,000.
Those teams, those are terrible baseball teams. So you're right about that.
The same with Colorado, Chicago, the Nationals and the Reds. They were eliminated on opening day. Same with the Cubs.
Yeah,
the Pirates are electric right now. I'll have to give them credit. They got this guy O'Neal Cruz. That's
I've seen him. The 6'7" shortstop.
Yeah, he's injected some life into that franchise, and they have Hayes, and they're
he is that guy. Now I did watch him play. I actually watched a Cub Pirate game last week because I wanted to see him play on my day off. I just wanted to watch him play, and the guy can run like the wind, and he's got mad power, and he's the thing is he's 6 foot. He's as big as Judge, but he's like
unbelievable. He's a freak.
He's a super athlete, though.
And I think he homered tonight too. The Pirates are up 2-0. Yeah, created a solo homer.
Yeah, he's got crazy power. I mean, look, the Pirates have been bad for a while, so you'd have to think that there were some decent. That guy Jack Swarmer, is that his name?
Sawinski, the guy who hits all those home runs but doesn't really do anything else.
He's not a bad player either. Yeah, I mean, they've got a couple of guys who can hit on that team, but Quintana's not a bad pitcher either, but he's 1-7 because they don't hit enough, and they have no bullpen.
So, but even though they're electric right now and getting better, they're not a wild card threat.
No, they're not even a 500 team. I mean, they're like probably if they have they'd have a successful season, the Pirates, if they win 75 games.
And then St. Louis just put a couple guys on the DL. Jack Flaherty back on the DL again with his shoulder, and Harrison Bader, their great base stealer, great defensive center fielder, also on the DL. True,
but that's nowhere near Bryce Harper and Gene Segura, though.
But like the Cardinals, they do things the right way.
They
and that
do.
translates into victories.
They do.
Cardinals aren't going to out-talent you. They're going to baseball 101 you to death.
Yeah,
They've been doing it for years.
They also have They have Paul Goldschmidt, and they also have Nolan Arenado. They're pretty good players, no?
And they fill in with these developmental guys that they bring up, and they hit.
Yeah, and they can all field. They're always a good defensive team, and their pitching always seems to be good enough somehow.
So 5 of their 8 won Gold Gloves last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They're just a good fundamental team. They've always been a team that's been like that. Good defensively, can run a little bit. Can always seem to have guys with good averages. That just seems to be the way they always manage to score. They're really just a good, solid team. Now, good enough to win a World Series? I don't think so, but
they were one of my futures bets at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, you never know, though. I mean, the thing is, they do have the 2 big sluggers on their team. So, and one of them, Goldschmidt, is having a phenomenal season, maybe an MVP type season, at least in the first half of the season.
Like, are you telling me like it's impossible for the Phillies to make up?
No, it's nothing. Listen, nothing's impossible.
Like, they're only a game back of the Cardinals in the loss column.
No, listen,
they can't make up a game in 6 weeks.
Rob, a couple of years ago, the Yankees, if you remember, the Yankees lost Stanton and Judge for like 2 months.
They had all kinds of injuries the one year.
Right. They found, that 1 year that everybody was hurt, and they had a bunch of scrubs coming in, and they all played great, and they were able to hang in there, and they were able to make the playoffs. Now
like
they didn't.
San Francisco, there's another team like the Cardinals. They play baseball the right way, and that translates to victories. Are you telling me that this team, without Bryce and without Gene, can't make up 2 games in the loss column over 6 weeks on the San Francisco Giants?
Yeah, but they weren't better than them when they had these guys. That's the problem.
I think the cream would have risen, and the Phillies would have finished ahead of at least the Giants. I'd like to hope.
I mean, it's debatable, but it's going to be very hard. I mean, look, they need, as I said, they're going to need some guys who have not proven anything, in their careers, to step up and become major league ball players. Some of these young players that they brought up, whether it's Moniak, Bain needs to bring his game up. Everybody's going to have to chip in. Nobody on that team is Bryce Harper, okay? But you know what? If enough of them hit maybe 20 points over their lifetime averages, then maybe. If some of them are able to hit a few home runs, play small ball, get some clutch hits, that's what they're going to need to do.
Don 19, is there any chance anybody catching the Mets in the division? I think I've said before, and I'll still maintain that I think that the Braves have a chance. Look, the Mets are they're the number 1 scoring team in all of baseball. They have a tremendous lineup. Pete Alonso's hitting home runs like a crazy person. Starling Marte was a great signing. McNeil and Nimmo is hitting out of the leadoff spot. Like, they're a really good team, and Bassett was a great signing, or they didn't sign him, they traded for him. Great signing. And then you have your 2 horses, DeGrom and Scherzer, coming back. So it's going to be tough. I think it's borderline impossible for the Phillies to catch the Mets with the Bryce Harper injury, but I think the Braves could. And I think both the Braves and the Mets are going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would
Phillies
agree with you.
Join them. We'll see. They got to step up. Bob Brinkman changed the leadoff hitter, moved Schwarber down 3 or 4 for now. I mean, this guy is having a historic June in the leadoff spot.
Yeah,
so
you can't move him. You can't move him right now.
You got to get off the fact that Kyle Schwarber isn't your traditional mid 90s, early 2000s leadoff hitter.
Look, at this
He gets on
point,
base enough. His power's stupid. He's definitely comfortable out there in the leadoff spot. He has
yeah, at this
experience
point,
in the
you need-
leadoff spot, which
at
no
this
one
point,
else
you just
does.
need to. At this point, okay, you need your 9 hitter to get on base. You need your 8 hitter to get on base. Whether it's jumping up when or standing on your tiptoes when there's a low pitch, or ducking at a high pitch so that you can get a walk. Whatever you have to do, these guys need to get on base, the lower part of their order, and that's what I'm saying. It's guys like that that are going to need to rise and do the job. And if they can somehow do that, then yeah, they're going to have it. They have a chance, but that's what's going to have to happen.
And like, who do you move there? We all hate Reese up there. Castellanos, with the way he's hitting, can't hit leadoff. JT's not going to hit leadoff. Segura's hurt.
Well, Schwarber gets on base too. He's a high on base percentage because he gets a lot of walks, right?
So right now, your best offensive weapon is by far Kyle Schwarber. And if you hit him first, that ensures that he gets the most at-bats out of anybody on the team. So that's where they're at right now as constructed. You could make a trade, but I don't know.
Which I do think that they're going to do.
I think the Phillies are better suited using their trade capital, as little as it is, because they're not good at developing talent, for arms. Whether you add a starter and put Suarez in the bullpen. By the way, Suarez has pitched great back-to-back games. So like you need to address this bullpen. That'll translate into more wins than moving Kyle Schwarber out of the leadoff spot, in my opinion. Gator country, I'm old school. I want my leadoff hitter to be a track star that gets walks. I mean, that's not how baseball's played anymore, Gator. I hear you.
Well, they could listen if they had a guy like that could do that. They would probably have the guy leading off. Right now, they don't have really any options. That's why Schwarber is leading off. And also, right now he's red hot. So why change anything?
And like you don't have an option besides him. And the stolen base is dead. Teams don't steal like they did in the early 2000s, mid 90s, or let alone the 70s.
Stealing bases is coming back now.
It's coming back a little bit. I agree with you.
Yeah, I've seen, at least in the American League, I've seen a lot more guys stealing this year than I have in the past few years. You know, I mean, listen, to me, the threat of a guy stealing a base is invaluable because you distract the pitcher, you upset the defense. That's a big factor.
I mean, Gator country. I mean, once you bring up Ricky Henderson, I mean, Ricky Henderson's the best leadoff hitter ever. He's the best base stealer ever. Like, that guy's not.
He may have been one of the
in Major League Baseball today. That's not how kids are taught to play baseball these days.
Yeah,
another
but
Ricky Henderson is never going to happen.
He may have been one of the great players. Ricky Henderson is an all-time great, whether people like him or not. He is. I mean, you look at
the best leadoff hitter of all time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all the runs he scored, and all the home runs he hit as a leadoff hitter, you know, and all the walks he got, and stolen bases that he got, and how many times did he have the pitchers going nuts and throwing fastballs right down the middle because they were so worried about him stealing that they give up home runs and stuff. So, you know, it is what it is.
Like, who's the best leadoff hitter in baseball today?
Wow.
Who is it, Springer?
I
got the Blue Jays. So. I got the Blue Jays on right now, and the Red Sox. Blue Jays hammering the Boston Red Sox 7-0 in the seventh.
7-0 now. Yeah, it was 4-0 the last time I had it on.
Best leadoff hitter in the league in baseball. Unless I'm missing someone.
You would have got Nemo on the Mets.
He's great, but he's not. Nimmo doesn't steal any bases. Springer, I think he has 5 on the year. I mean, that's not leading the league in anything.
No.
I think Julio Rodriguez leads the American League with 15 or so stolen bases. So that puts him on track for what, 30?
Maybe 40.
I mean, Ricky would have 40, 50 by the All-Star break.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So, like,
but stealing bases like Ricky, that's an art. And that's something that not only do you have to be extremely fast, but you have to be extremely smart, and you have to really know all the pitchers to be able to know their moves and everything like
Willie
that.
Mays. Willie Mays used to get on used to walk, steal second, steal third, and score on a sacrifice fly. Like that day is dead. I'm sure Ricky did the same thing a bunch of times.
And Mickey Mantle used to do it too before he hurt his knee. But I mean, Ricky Henderson also never struck out. That was the other thing that made him as great as he was.
And guys strike out at an immense clip.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to rack my brain for leadoff hitters.
I mean, when the Yankees have Judge leading off, I kind of cringe. I mean, that's just me, but I kind of cringe.
It's not a good example. The Yankees are, and I've said on this show before that I think they've did it for a little bit, and now LeMahieu's doing it.
Well, LeMahieu is their leadoff hitter.
But, I mean, Nimmo and Springer come to mind as two of the best leadoff hitters in the league, and they don't steal bases.
No.
They have pop, and they drive the ball, and they get on base at a reasonable clip. Like, who hits leadoff for the Red Sox?
I barely watched the Red Sox this year, so I mean,
they brought up that kid Duran, who was tearing the cover off the ball, but now they're in Toronto, and he can't play because he doesn't have a shot.
Oh, jeez.
I guess Cedric Mullins you could put in that category as good leadoff hitters.
Yeah.
But even him, I think he's single digit in steals. So
yeah, it's not huge, but
the 03 Marlins.
You're seeing more stolen bases this year
than years past. Yes, I agree with that. But it's like a bunch of guys stealing like 10 bags through June.
Yeah.
Not someone who's just piling up 25, 30 steals and running rampant.
Yeah, I think that day is coming back, though.
Now, I think John Birdie, he's stealing the Marlins. I think he leads the National League. I think he's got 23.
That's a lot.
And Chisholm. And, look, I hear you. You want the top of your lineup to be like the 03 Marlins. Remember the 03 Marlins?
Oh, yeah. with
Obviously,
Pierre
you do. Not to bring up,
You have to bring them up, don't you? Pierre and Juan Pierre, who could barely hit the ball out of the infield. But
he would just slap it, run, get on base, steal a bunch. No power whatsoever.
Ichiro used to do that too. Ichiro, if he hit a ground ball to the left side in his prime, he'd beat it out. And before you could even think about what was going on, he was standing on third base because he'd steal second and third.
But the days of Ichiro and Juan Pierre and Luis Castillo at the top of your order that give you no power and are just going to slap the ball and get on base and steal second, steal third, and manufacture runs that way, that's just not how the game is played anymore. It's just not.
No. So I think you're gonna see that a lot of teams need to manufacture runs. Not every team has the kind of power that they need to win.
Yeah, and guys like Bryce and Stott hitting at the back of your lineup and Vierling are going to have to do that. They're going to have to
look, Rob. They're going to have to play real well. They're going to have to hit the ball.
They're going to have to get on base and move run. Schwarber and Hoskins and Nick and JT. I assume that's going to be the top four in the lineup. Maybe Didi gets mixed in there, to split up the righties. But you don't really have to do that because the relief pitchers have to face three guys. They're going to have to – they need to be provided with opportunities to drive in runs, and they're going to have to drive in those runs. And I think the biggest moral of the story without Bryce is if this team does get a lead in the late innings, the bullpen is going to have to shut it down, which that's the part that's the most concerning for the Phillies because their bullpen stinks, and it still stinks, and it's stunk for years. So that's where you're at with the Phillies.
And at the trade deadline, there are going to be more people. I should say more people, more teams trying to bulk up their bullpen.
Everybody wants it. The Yankees are going to want it. The Red Sox are going to
The
want
Yankees,
it.
as good as the Yankees bullpen has been, they're still itching to get Chapman back, and they're itching to get Loaiza back.
It's one of those things. If you have a really good team, like you can never go wrong adding a bullpen piece.
No, you never.
Maybe they won't have to get the hottest guy on the market.
You don't have to get the hottest guy in the market,
but they're going to get players. Like the Yankees aren't going to make no trades at the deadline. The Red Sox are going to make no trade. Houston Astros. These are all teams with good teams and good pitching staffs and good bullpens. They're going to be looking to add, like the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Blue Jays and the Astros. They don't need any more offense.
No. Well, the Yankees might try to go after a guy like Benintendi. That's been the hot rumor in New York. Benintendi's having a big year, and he's left-handed. And, he's hitting 300, so they're figuring, that would be a perfect.
The Yankees have what, a top 5 farm system in baseball?
Yes, they do.
So they can do that.
But their top 5 is all pitching. They don't have a.
Where would Benintendi even fit on the Yankees?
Have you ever heard of Joey Gallo?
Yeah, he'd be out.
Yeah. We can't get rid of him fast enough.
Is Judge going to stay in center then?
Oh, Judge has been in center and is going to stay in center.
He's been in center, but he's going to stay there?
Yeah, and Stanton's going to play right. Stanton's been playing right.
Who's DHing? LeMahieu?
Donaldson.
Who's playing third?
DJ LeMahieu.
And Glaber's hurt now too, right?
Well, now DJ's back to second base, and Donaldson is going to be playing third.
It seems counterproductive to the trade of Josh Donaldson if you have him as the DH. He's not a good fielder anymore.
Oh no, he's a good fielder, but in order to get both Torres and LeMahieu and Stanton and Judge in the lineup, you have to DH somebody. So you DH the guy who's most injury prone and oldest to keep him healthy, and that's Donaldson.
And then Hicks, you still have Hicks in the mix there. I know you don't like him either.
Unfortunately, we do. He's a piece of crap. I don't care if he hit that home run against Houston. He still stinks.
That series didn't. What'd you take? Would you split that with Houston over the weekend?
Yes.
You obviously get no hit on Saturday, which is.
They were also no hit for 6 innings on Sunday.
Un-Yankee-like for the bats to go cold for that long.
Yep, it happens. Yeah, it wasn't the one pitcher that no hit him though. They used a couple of guys in their bullpen. I think what we saw that was interesting is that Houston's bullpen is not very good. It may statistically be the best in the American League, but the Yankees can hit their bullpen.
Yeah, I don't think.
So
I think if the Yankees don't go to the World Series this year, then I think their fans will have
we're gonna have
legitimate reason to be upset.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, if we don't, Aaron Boone, we're going to be going after Aaron Boone because we'll blame him.
You have the best pitching staff. You have one of the best bullpens, and you have, I think the the Yankees are second in runs scored in the MLB behind the Mets.
Something like that.
I know they lead over the weekend.
They lead baseball in home runs.
Yeah, the Phillies are up there too. They're in the top 5 as well. They hit a lot of home runs too. Yeah,
at this point, believe it or not, they have 2 guys with over 20 home runs, and of course Stanton now I think has 17. So
Rizzo hit one tonight.
Yeah, Rizzo and Stanton both hit home runs. Rizzo was actually in a slump, really bad slump for the last week and a half. But
he's like the Yankee version of Schwarber, no?
Yeah, he is.
He's a better defender, and they can.
Well, the difference between him and Schwarber is that he's a Gold Glove defender. Schwarber is not. It's not. But I mean,
Schwarber would look a lot better at first base than left field.
Offensively, they're the same player now.
230 hitter. I think Rizzo's at.
No, I think he's at 220.
Yeah, he's even lower than that.
Yeah, he's 220, and he's got 20 home runs and 50 RBIs. So and he gets a lot of walks. So his on base percentage is pretty good.
So this is the Yankees' year. They're by far the best team. I know you split with Houston, but Houston's a good team too.
Yeah, you can't take anything away from Houston. I mean, Houston. I'll tell you what, that Alvarez, he really reminds me of. He reminds me a lot of Ortiz, the way he gets up there and he whacks the ball. The way he whacks the ball.
Red Sox are 42-31, a pretty good record, 58% baseball, and they are 11 games back of the New York Yankees.
Right, they're going to be playing the Yankees, I believe. Is it 7 or 10 times in July?
I feel like they haven't played that much.
They've only played 3 games against each other.
So they're backloading that.
Yep. Yeah. They
how are the Yankees? The Yankees, there's no chance that the Yankees blow this lead in the East.
It would be pretty hard for them to do that. I mean, I guess they could. Anything's possible.
Let's put their lineup aside for a second. You have Cole, you have Severino, you have Cortez, you have Taillon and Montgomery. Montgomery looks like he didn't.
Montgomery had an incredibly bad 3rd inning, but it's the 7th inning, and guess what? He's still out there.
So he's battling, he's giving you a chance for those bats to wake up a little bit.
Right.
What's it,
it was 5-1, and he's still in the game.
The Phillies. It's like the Phillies in 2011, Brad. The division was on lock because you just weren't going to lose that many games in a row because of Halladay, Lee, Blanton, Hamels.
Right.
And I'm missing somebody, I think. Oswald.
Yeah, they had outstanding pitching. I think they had Blanton at the end, didn't they?
Yeah, he was the 5th.
Right.
So, you're going to limit your losing streaks. And their run differential is what I really emphasize when I look at if team success is sustainable or not. Yankees are by far, they're more than double the second run differential in all of baseball. They're a plus 144 in their run differential.
I mean, that's amazing.
Which is silly.
Don's on 19 says that the Blue Jays 7-0 against the Red Sox. Wait, they've won 7 in a row against the Red Sox, or they had 7-0 against the Red Sox?
The Blue Jays are beating the Red Sox 7-0.
Oh, okay. Because I don't think they beat the Red Sox. I don't even think they played the Red Sox 7 times.
No, I don't know when these teams are going to play each other in the East, but it's got to be soon.
Well, the Yankees have played Toronto. The Yankees are 8-3 or 8-4 against Toronto. No, they're 8-4 against Toronto, and they're 8-4. No, they're 8-3 against Tampa Bay this year. So, and they're 2-1 against the Red Sox, and they're 8-4 against Baltimore. So they pretty much handled everybody. They just haven't played the Red Sox that much. But I don't doubt that they would be spanking the Red Sox too. I mean, what would make anybody think that the Red Sox are going to come in and start spanking the Yankees? I doubt that's going to happen.
No, I could see them taking 2 of 3, but if you take 2 of 3, you make up one game.
Yeah,
exactly.
Still 10 back. Exactly. Now in the playoffs, the Yankees have the best record in the American League. Okay, I could see a team winning one game against them, but you're not going to win 4 against them. It's going to be very hard. I mean, the Yankees lost last year because they didn't win the division. Plain and simple, they didn't win the division. If you have to play, they don't do it anymore. I guess they're changing stuff, right? Or is it still one game playoff series now?
So 6 teams make it. Top 2 get buys. 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. 3-game series.
Okay.
The higher seed gets all 3 games at home.
Okay, so they don't have one game anymore. See, if the Yankees would have played the Red Sox 3 times last year, I think they would have beat them. But in one game, anything could happen in one game.
Right, I think that's a good change.
Yeah, I think it is too. I thought that one game was kind of ridiculous. I mean, you play 162 games, and you play one game. I mean, for the division, yes, but to make the playoffs, you're playing all these games, and then you have one game and you get knocked out. I mean, technically, if you look at it, I mean, what would happen if the Yankees played the Cincinnati Reds in one game? Cincinnati would have a fighting shot to win one game. You never know.
Right. I agree. I think it's a good change, and it puts an extra emphasis on winning the division, because if you win your division, you might get a bye and not have to deal with the wild card round, which is ideal because you can set up your pitching without manipulating anything in the regular season.
Oh, absolutely. No,
at the very least, if you have to go into the wild card round, you're going to get all your games at home.
Yep, that's a key. I mean, that's a key. And if you're, and also, you know, if you're going to get the bye in the first round, you not only that, as you said, you get to deal with the fact that you can set up your pitching, and the other team is going to start with their 4 and their 5 in the first round of the playoffs against the Yankees. You know, that's a huge advantage. I mean, you have 4 and 5. Your 1 and 2 are going to be going against their 4 and 5 to start the series.
Yeah,
you know? And
all right, we got it.
Unless the series goes 7, you know, if it only goes, it could go 6, and the other team's best pitchers only pitch once. Yours go twice.
All right, we do have to get out of here though. It's 9:30. Stay tuned for Run It Back Philly, Tom Arnone and Ryan Brodo coming up just a few minutes here on A2D Radio. Thank you to our producers, Ralphie and Frank. Thank you to everyone who liked, subscribed, and shared our show. And obviously, thank you to our great sponsors down at All Campus and ARIA Public Adjusting. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman.